The human repairman fixed toys for free. Soon, alien children started calling him Father. Before we jump into today's story, do me a favor. Drop a hello in the comments and tell me what planet, city, or cozy little corner of the world you're listening from. It helps the channel more than you know, and it lets our little story family feel a bit closer across the stars. Dizzy, the orbital city of New Harmony, was never quiet. Docking clamps groaned, engines whined, and the violet sky above the spaceport flickered with incoming and outgoing ships. Freighters, shuttles, luxury cruisers. If it could fly, it probably passed through here sooner or later. Hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you never miss our latest uploads. Wedged between a parts supplier and a noodle stall sat a narrow shop with a hand-painted sign that read, in slightly crooked letters, Tyler's Fix-It Shop. Inside, Tyler Grant leaned over his workbench, broad shoulders hunched, a magnifier hanging over one eye. His hands looked like they belonged on freight crates or engine blocks, scarred, knotted strong. But right now, those hands are delicately adjusting the micro-thrusters on a toy starship no bigger than his palm. The toy belonged to a young Centaurian who'd shown up earlier that day, all four of its teary eyes overflowing at once when the little ship refused to fly. Loose contact, Tyler murmured to himself. He tightened a filament, reseated a tiny crystal, and flipped the switch. The ship's engines glowed soft blue, its miniature hull trembling with life. Lights winked along the sides like distant constellations. Tyler smiled and set the toy in the finished tray. In his old-fashioned paper ledger, he wrote, Centaurian Kid, Toy Ship, and no charge. Tyler hadn't planned any of this. When he signed up for the Human Expansion Initiative 3 years ago, his goal had been simple. Fix ships, earn credits, and maybe send a little money back to his crowded home on Earth. New Harmony was supposed to be a work assignment, not a calling. Back then, humans were still the new species on the block, trying to prove they could be useful neighbors. Tyler, certified mechanic and certified wanderer, ended up as the only human repair tech in this particular ring of the station. 6 months after he opened shop, a small drawn child had wandered in, scales dull with sadness, clutching a broken robotic companion. The toy's eyes were dark, its limbs limp. Their own techs had declared it unfixable. Tyler had tinkered with it on a whim, found a burned-out regulator, swapped in a spare, and brought the little robot back to life. When the drawn parents tried to pay, he'd waved it off. Just being neighborly, he'd said. Let the kid keep their friend. Word spread. It always does. Now, every few days, someone tiny and worried would appear in his doorway, carrying a broken piece of their world. The shop chime pinged and pulled him from his thoughts. In the entrance stood a tall, slender Andorian, blue skin shimmering under the lights like frost. At its side floated a smaller Andorian child, antennae low, clutching a rectangular device to its chest. Welcome in, Tyler said, wiping his hands on a rag as he approached the counter. What can I help with today? The adult nudged the youngster forward. Its translator rendered the whistles and clicks into standard. My offspring wishes to make a request. The child carefully placed the device on the counter. It looked like an old model star map trainer, an educational toy that taught young Andorians how to read constellations and plan navigation routes. It stopped functioning 2 cycles ago, the child said softly. Father says it is too outdated to replace, but I learned all my star routes on it. Tyler turned the device over in his hands. Classic piece, he said, impressed. They don't make them like this anymore. He tapped a few buttons. The screen stayed black. Mind if I open it up? He asked. The child's antennae twitched upright in hope. Please. Tyler waved them over to the workbench. He popped the case open and pointed as he worked. See this? He said, angled so the child could see the interior. Old power couplings like this corrode after 10 years or so. You get buildup along the edges, current drops, and poof, dead star map. He coaxed a small component free and held it up. That little guy's your culprit. You can fix it? The child asked. I've got something that'll fit. He dug through a labeled drawer until he found a compatible part and slotted it in. While he worked, the child peppered him with questions, how the circuits routed, why humans used different labeling, what duct tape was and whether it was a sacred human artifact. Tyler answered patiently, working and teaching at the same time. 20 minutes later, he reassembled the casing, pressed the power stud, and the screen came alive in a burst of starlight. Constellations bloomed. Navigation routes traced themselves in glowing lines. "Good as new," Tyler said. "Better, actually. I upgraded the power cell. Should last another decade at least." The child's skin deepened to a richer blue, Andorian joy. Antennae lifted high. "How many credits do we owe you?" the adult asked, already reaching for a chip. Tyler waved it away. "Call it a free tune-up." The Andorian frowned, confused. "You use parts in time. Our cultures teach that effort must be acknowledged." "I've got more spare parts than I know what to do with," Tyler replied. "And time spent making kids smile? That's the best return on investment I've found." The child hugged its star map to its chest. "Thank you," it said. "I will learn many routes with this." The adult studied Tyler for a long moment. "You are unusual among humans." "Been told that," Tyler said with a grin. "But your young one took care of that device. Things that are loved, they're worth fixing." When they left, the shop felt quieter, but inside Tyler something felt steadier, like a ship locking into a stable orbit. He had paying work waiting, a glitchy NAV system from a merchant freighter that needed to be operational by morning. Still, as he bent over the ship's hardware, he found his mind drifting back to that Andorian kid's face when the stars came back to life. He didn't know it yet, but this was only the first ripple in a much larger wave. The next morning, Tyler woke up in his little apartment over the shop to the distant thrum of engines and the smell of someone downstairs boiling noodles for breakfast. He grabbed coffee, pulled on his work shirt, and went down to open up. The moment the lights flicked on, the door chimed and 3 Triskelion youngsters tumbled in, webbed feet pattering against the floor. Their skin had a muted, grayish tint, and each clutched a fragment of something cubic and intricate. "Mr. Human Fixman," chirped the tallest one in wobbly standard. "Can you make our thinker cube whole again?" It fell apart. Tyler knelt, so he wasn't towering quite so much. "Let's see the patient," he said. They laid the pieces down like a ceremony. The cube appeared to be a logic puzzle. Lights, shifting panels, hidden connectors. Designed, if Tyler guessed right, to teach spatial reasoning and problem solving. "This might take some time," he said. "You want to wait or come back later?" "Wait," said the smallest, sitting cross-legged their way on the floor. "We will be silent while you do mechanic magic." Tyler chuckled. "It's just engineering, but you're welcome to watch." He brought the parts to the bench, sorting through them like a tiny wrecked starship. As he worked, the kids told him about where they'd come from, a world of endless oceans in the T-scale system, where home smelled like salt water and the sun's light filtered through waves instead of atmosphere. "The air here dries our gills," the middle child admitted quietly. "Our father says we must learn to live without reminders of the ocean. He says it slows our adapting." Tyler paused, a partially assembled corner of the cube in his hand. "When I first arrived here," he said, "I missed Earth every single day. The smell of rain, old fuel from the spaceport back home, my mom's stew. I thought ignoring those memories would help me settle in faster." "Did it?" asked the smallest. "Not even close," Tyler said. "What helped was knowing I could bring pieces of home with me. A photo, a tool my dad used. It made me brave enough to build something new." The Triskelions traded looks, gill flaps fluttering anxiously. "Our mother says something similar," the tallest admitted, "but she works many shifts. We do not wish to burden her with our missing." "Missing home isn't a burden," Tyler said softly. "It's proof that place mattered." He snapped the final side into place and sealed the delicate connectors. The cube lit up with a series of glowing lines, surfaces shifting as the logic circuits re-engaged. "There we go," he said. "Give it a try." They pounced on the cube, hands moving in practice patterns. Light flowed correctly through the puzzle, changing shapes in response to their moves. The dull gray of their skin flushed with shifting blues and greens, Triskelion joy rippling over them like reflected waves. "It functions better than before," the middle child exclaimed. "How much currency do you require?" "Nothing," Tyler said, ruffling the smooth head of the littlest one. "Payment is watching you 3 light up like this. Just promise you'll take care of each other while you're getting used to this place." The siblings huddled together, whispering in their liquid language. Then the tallest turned back, solemn as a judge. "We have no credits, but our people do not leave debts unbalanced," they said. From a hidden pouch, they drew out a smooth, iridescent stone, catching the light in shifting colors. "This is a luck stone from our home sea. It is given to those who help others without seeking gain. We wish you to carry it." Tyler accepted the gift with ceremony. "Thank you," he said. "I'll keep it safe." When they left, he placed the stone on a narrow shelf behind the counter, joining the small collection he'd already gathered: a downy feather from a Kavarian chick, a crayon scribble from a Lydian youngster, a glimmering shard of crystal from a Petroventine. His shelf was turning into a tiny museum of gratitude. The day rolled on. He tuned an environmental suit regulator, patched a communicator, fixed a hover scooter for a courier in a hurry. Between those jobs, he fixed 3 more toys, each with its own story and worried pair of eyes. Near closing, the door chimed once more. A Draxian warrior ducked through the doorway, scales a deep, polished crimson. Their posture was stiff. Tyler had learned that meant discomfort, not aggression. At their side, half hidden, stood a much smaller Draxian with softer, pinkish scales. "Greetings, human mechanic," the adult boomed. The translator box struggled with the low tone. "We are told you restore younglings' play objects." "That's me," Tyler said. "What have you got?" The adult nudged the child. "Show the human, Krozak." The youngster stepped forward, clutching a carved figure about the size of Tyler's forearm. It was a warrior doll, heavy, jointed at the limbs, etched in intricate detail. Time had worn the edges smooth where generations of hands had held it. "The joints no longer move as they should," the child said, lowering all 4 eyes. "And the voice memory is broken." Tyler took the doll. Its limbs hung loose. The internal servos buzzed weakly. He carefully pressed a panel. The speaker emitted only static. "This is beautiful work," Tyler said honestly. "Feels like something with history." The adult's chest expanded with pride. "It belongs to our bloodline. It is passed from elder to youngling for 7 generations." Krozak was too vigorous in play. The child's scales flickered in a pattern Tyler recognized as shame. "Well," Tyler said, "let's see what we can do for your ancestor soldier." He invited them to the bench. As he opened the doll, he slowly realized the problem. The original components were old, delicate, and unlike any current market parts. A lazy mechanic might install new guts and call it done, but that would erase the heirloom's heart. "Our craftspeople said it cannot be fully restored without replacing sacred pieces," the adult said quietly. They refused. "I like a challenge," Tyler replied. He set about rethreading the joint cables, reinforcing them where they had worn through, carefully cleaning ancient connectors. For the voice box, he raided his scrap bins until he found an old comm unit with compatible frequency ranges. He sketched a quick wiring map and began grafting its crystal array into the doll's interior. While he worked, he asked Krozak about the etched symbols carved into the doll's armor and pauldrons. The child, hesitant at first, began explaining. This mark for courage, that one for mercy, that series of lines for a long-ago battle when a Draxian leader had chosen peace over conquest. "This figure holds our stories," Krozak said. "Each bearer adds a new memory. I was recording our move to new harmony when it failed." "That sounds like exactly the kind of story worth saving," Tyler said. After nearly 2 hours, he sealed the doll back up and handed it to the child. "Try it now." Krozak bent the arms. The joints moved smoothly, the weight balanced. One claw tapped the hidden playback switch. The doll's voice rumbled in Draxian, old recordings layered one after another. War, then diplomacy, then travels, then family vows. Krozak pressed the record inset and spoke a few sentences, then played them back. The new story slotted perfectly at the end, clear and strong. The adult stared. "How did you preserve all memories and improve the sound?" "Rewired an old comm crystal, rerouted the power draw, and let the original memory lattice stay in charge," Tyler said. "The doll still itself. Just got better hearing now." "What payment do you accept for such work?" the adult asked, already reaching for a pouch. Tyler shook his head. I gotta handle a piece of your family's history. That's payment enough. The adult stiffened. In our customs, to leave such a debt unpaid insults both giver and receiver. Tyler hesitated. Cultural lines were tricky ground. Then an idea came. How about this? He said. You share one of the stories recorded in the doll with me. Knowledge for service. That feels fair. The Draxian considered, then nodded. Krozak activated the doll and played back one of the oldest recordings. Between parent and child, they translated a tale of a warrior who laid down arms and became a mediator, ending a blood feud older than any living Draxian. When they finally turned to go, Krozak looked up with all four eyes bright. Thank you for fixing our history keeper, the child said. I will record that we met you. Name's Tyler, he said gently. Krozak repeated it, testing the sounds. Tyler, I will add you to the story of our arrival here. After they left, the shop felt very small and very big at the same time. Upstairs that night, Tyler reheated a simple dinner and had barely taken 2 bites when his comm console chimed. His sister's face popped up on the screen. Megan, hair pulled into a messy knot, Earth's familiar gravity tugging at everything in the background. Hey, space brother, she said. Mom wants to know when you're coming home. It's been 2 years. Working on it, Tyler said. Even with the family discount, tickets between stars don't grow on trees. How's life out there? She asked. Still elbows deep in starship guts. Ship guts, yeah. But not just that. He shrugged. I fix a lot of kid stuff these days. Toys. Old cultural gadgets. Things that matter more than they look. Megan studied his face. You look different, she said. Less restless. Maybe I finally found a place where my toolbox and my heart line up, he said. She smiled, eyes misting. Dad always said your hands could fix anything. The mention of their father hit like a soft punch. Tyler could almost smell engine oil and hear the clatter of tools in their old garage back on Earth. Their dad fixing the neighborhood kids' bikes and hoverboards, refusing money, saying their grins were plenty. He used to fix everyone's stuff for free, Megan said. Mom complained. He'd just laugh. Yeah, Tyler said quietly. I think I finally understand why. After they said goodnight, Tyler stood at his window and watched unfamiliar stars burn in a violet sky. Far from home, surrounded by species he'd learned to name by eye, he realized something important. Every time he fixed a toy or an heirloom, he wasn't just repairing plastic or metal. He was stitching threads between worlds. The next morning, when Tyler rolled up the shop's door, a line was already forming. Parents of 6 species stood with younglings in tow, arms full of broken puzzles, instruments, and gadgets. Looks like a busy shift, he muttered, amused. First in line was a Lurillian adult with shimmering wings folded tightly against their back. Their youngster hovered beside them, wings buzzing anxiously as they set a small wind flute on the counter. This instrument no longer produces the upper tones, the parent explained. It is simple, but it carries the songs of our ancestors. Our child cannot practice properly without it. Tyler held the flute up to the light, turning it slowly. Tiny cracks lined the resonance chamber, nearly invisible. I commend this, he said. Might need a bit of reinforcement, but I'll keep the sound true. You want to wait or come back later? Later is acceptable, the Lurillian replied. What is your fee? No charge, Tyler said, his usual reflex. I'll have it ready around midday. The parent's wings stuttered in surprise. No charge? You give labor and parts 40? Before Tyler could answer, a familiar voice rumbled from further back. The human Tyler values the joy of younglings more than credits. Called the Draxian adult from the previous day. His work honors our histories. A ripple of murmurs swept through the line. Tyler felt his face heat. I just like fixing things, he said, tucking the flute into a tray. Especially the important ones. The morning became a dance between paying jobs, ship regulators, access panels, a stubborn docking base sensor, and toys, trainers, and cultural trinkets. He rotated tasks carefully, never leaving ship captains waiting too long and never making a child feel like an interruption. By midday, he had the flute restored, a Xenite puzzle recalibrated, and a miniature toned starfighter zooming around a kid's head in delighted circles. He was in the middle of coaxing life back into a holographic storyteller, a cylinder that projected animated legends, when a soft knock tapped his workbench. He looked up to find a small group of adults from various species gathered just beyond the counter. Crystalline, feathered, scaled, furred, they looked like a miniature version of the station's diversity. At their center stood a meridian, its body made of interlocking facets that refracted the shop lights. "Human Tyler," it said. "We speak on behalf of the Parental Council for New Harmony's Eastern District." Tyler set down his tools. "Did something break already?" he asked cautiously. "No malfunction," the Meridian replied. "Rather, a social imbalance." A Vexian, feathers fanned in formal posture, stepped forward. "Your custom of refusing payment from parents when repairing younglings' possessions has caused confusion. In many of our cultures, gifts without reciprocation create obligation or suspicion." Tyler frowned. "There's no hidden catch," he said. "I just don't want a kid to go without their favorite toy because their parents are short on credits." "We have observed this pattern," the Draxian representative added. "We value your intentions. We also value social equilibrium." The Meridian held up a data slate. "Our proposal: each time you repair an educational or cultural item for a youngling, the family may, if they choose, contribute what they can to a community fund in your name. This fund already exists to support educational and heritage programs. No fixed fee, no obligation, but our customs remain intact." Tyler rubbed the back of his neck. "As long as no one is turned away for lack of funds," he said slowly, "I can live with that." "That will be a formal condition," the Vexian said immediately. "No child shall be denied your services." The council members inclined their heads, deal sealed. After they left, Tyler stared at the data slate for a long moment. He hadn't meant for this to become anything official. It had started as him being his dad's son, fixing things because they were loved. But now, apparently he was infrastructure. The afternoon brought another surprise. As the open sign flipped to closed, the door edged open anyway. A small Nephilian child slipped in, antennae trembling. Nephilians were rare here, thin, insectoid, their glossy exoskeletons patterned with intricate lines. "Hey there," Tyler said gently. "Shop's technically closed, but if something's broken and important, we can talk." "Are you the human who repairs younglings' broken things?" the child asked, translator clicking to life, without demanding direct payment. "That's me," Tyler said. "Name's Tyler. What's yours?" "I'm called Zik." Zik placed a fragile model hive on the counter. Built from a pearly secretion, it was a miniature tower of spires and chamber clusters. Several of the delicate towers had snapped off. The base was cracked through. "This was made from material of my original hive," Zik said. Their voice carried a faint tremor. "Our hive was dissolved in storms on Neph Prime. We were relocated here. This model is my only physical memory of home." Tyler felt the floor tilt under him. He'd read about those storms in passing, ionic tempests that shredded entire hive cities. "I'll do everything I can to fix it," he said softly. "But your building material is unique. I don't keep Nephilian secretion compound on my shelves." Zik produced a small vial from a pouch. It shimmered with internal colors. "I brought binding fluid from our settlement. It is difficult to obtain, but I wish to see this restored." Tyler accepted the vial like it was a holy relic. "Then we've got what we need. Want to pick it up tomorrow or watch me work?" "Our tradition teaches that watching restoration of a hive form is part of education," Zik replied. "If you permit, I would like to observe." "Pull up a stool," Tyler said, clearing space at the bench. For the next 2 hours, the two of them worked in slow, careful focus. Tyler learned the correct orientation of each spire and cluster, guided by Zik's precise instructions. This chamber was for hatchling education, Zik explained, tapping a hexagonal room at the model center. The spire above it held the Elders' Council. Knowledge flowed downward. "And where did you live?" Tyler asked as he applied a microscopic bead of binding fluid. Zik pointed to a modest cluster midway up the structure. "Here with my brood siblings. Close enough to the learning chambers to hear the teaching vibrations." far below the planning chambers. We were not yet ready for that responsibility. And here, Tyler asked, indicating a tall pinnacle. That tower carried the resonance of the Queen's guidance, Zix said, voice softening. Her frequency kept the hive aligned. And now, Tyler asked, what do you stay here on New Harmony? In the Nephilian Quarter on the western edge, Zix said, individual dwellings. Separate rooms. It is quiet in a way that is not comfortable. We are told we must adapt to survive. But without the shape of the hive, it is difficult to know one's place. Tyler set the newly restored model gently on the counter. Every spire stood upright, every chamber sealed. What if, he said slowly, you came by here sometimes? Not just to watch, to help. I fix a lot of items from cultures I barely understand. You could teach me what they mean. That might help both of us figure out where we fit. You would accept my assistance? Zix asked, antennae twitching in disbelief. Even though my formal education is incomplete, best mechanics I've ever met started learning before anyone thought they were ready, Tyler said. Sometimes teaching someone else is how you learn the most. Zix examined the model closely, running antennae along the seams. The structure is intact, they finally declared. The memory of the hive is preserved. Then they looked up, compound eyes bright. I will come after my education cycles. The elders say cultural exchange is part of adaptation. When Zix left, the shop felt different somehow, like another support beam had clicked into place. Over the next weeks, Zix became a fixture at Tyler's Fix-It shop. At first, they just watched silently, antennae flicking as Tyler worked. Gradually, they started handling tools, their fine multi-jointed fingers perfect for delicate assemblies. They could look at almost any object and immediately identify what part of a culture it belonged to. That disc is a meridian meditation focus, they'd say. Do not rotate it upside down during repair. That orientation is considered disrespectful. That talent device is used to help younglings learn social roles. Do not erase the previous recordings. Tyler started wondering how he'd ever managed without them. And the shelf behind the counter? It kept filling. Tokens of gratitude from all over the station, little proof points that what he was doing mattered more than he'd realized. One particularly hectic afternoon, Tyler juggled 3 projects at once. A meridian crystal puzzle whose resonance sequence was out of tune, a misbehaving hover sled controller, and a half-disassembled Andorian navigation sim. Zix sat at a second workbench Tyler had set up, carefully reassembling a drawn story cube, mandibles set in focus. The door chimed. The Andorian child from earlier, star map enthusiast extraordinaire, stepped in with its parent. The teaching device was tucked under the child's arm, but it looked intact. Tyler gave them a wave. Star maps still behaving themselves? They function optimally, the child said proudly. I completed every route. The instructors at the academy gave my scores high distinction. The academy? Tyler repeated. I've been accepted into the junior navigator program, the child said, antennae vibrating with excitement. Father says this placement is rare at my age. That's huge, Tyler said, genuine warmth flooding his voice. Congratulations. The Andorian parent nodded. It would not have been possible without your restoration of that device. We wished to formally acknowledge this. They took a small, carefully wrapped package from a pouch and passed it to the child, who presented it to Tyler with both hands. This is a navigator's compass, the parent explained. It is symbolic rather than technological. We gift it to those who help others find their correct path. Tyler unwrapped it and sucked in a breath. The instrument was crafted from polished, deep blue stone and thin bands of silvery metal inscribed with Andorian script. The needle inside floated, responding not to magnetic fields, but to subtle stellar alignments. This is beautiful, Tyler said. You sure you want to give this away? You helped orient my child's future, the parent replied. A tool that represents guidance belongs with you. From the second bench, Zix watched, antennae raised. In Andorian culture, they said quietly, such items are not given lightly. It marks you as a significant influence in that one's life vector. Tyler placed the compass on the shelf and felt all his tokens, stone, feather, scribble, crystal, take on new meaning. I just fixed a toy, he murmured. No, Zik said with unusual firmness. You restored possibility. That is more than function. Later that day, another familiar face appeared. Krozak, the Draxian child with the heirloom warrior doll. This time, he came alone, scales flushed in a pattern that suggested he was nervous and determined. Hey, Krozak, Tyler said. Everything still okay with your history keeper? The doll operates properly, Krozak said. I come to request different help. He laid a cultural learning module on the counter, sleek and military efficient. Tyler recognized it as standard Draxian issue. I see no cracks, Tyler said. What's wrong? The programming, Krozak answered. It only contains traditional Draxian teachings. I wish to learn about other species as well. But my parent believes too much external influence will dilute my identity. He hesitated. I have acquired legally approved multi-species education programs used in the settlement schools, but the module rejects them. Its ports are locked to Draxian content. Tyler exhaled slowly. So you wanted to hack it? I understand that modifying cultural units without clan approval is frowned upon, Krozak said. But I believe understanding others makes us stronger, not weaker. Tyler leaned on the counter. Look, I'm all for you learning as widely as you can. But sneaking alterations into something your parent considers sacred? That crosses a line I'm not comfortable with. Krozak's scales dimmed. However, Tyler continued, there's another way. I can build you a separate device, one that takes those multi-species programs. You can keep your original module for clan study and use the new one to explore everything else. That way, you're not hiding changes. You're adding tools. Krozak's scales brightened in an instant. That is acceptable. My parent has not forbidden learning about others, only prioritized our own history. Then we'll do it that way, Tyler said. I've got spare educational hardware. Give me a few days to cobble something together. As Krozak turned to go, he paused. May I ask a personal question? Sure, Tyler said. Why do you help us? Krozak asked. The younglings of so many species. What do you gain? Tyler thought about it. When I got here, he said, I fixed ships, got paid, went upstairs, ate dinner, slept. It was fine, but I felt like I was just orbiting life, not part of it. And now, every time a kid walks out of here with something precious working again, it feels like I hooked into a bigger circuit, he said. Like I belong to this place instead of just passing through. That's the benefit, belonging. Purpose. Krozak blinked all four eyes in a slow, thoughtful sequence. The Triskelion younglings in my learning group have named you, he said. They call you Handfather. Handfather? Tyler repeated. In their culture, there are birth parents, Krozak explained, and hand parents, those whose hands shape a youngling's experiences. They believe you shape their lives by restoring what they love. With that, he left Tyler alone with a new word echoing in his head. Handfather. A few nights later, long after closing, the Triskelion siblings returned, this time with an adult caregiver, their gill flaps pulsing in anxious patterns. I apologize for the intrusion, the adult said. Our vessel departs shortly. The little ones refuse to leave without speaking to you. You're heading out? Tyler asked. Our mating partner's health requires a return to a water world, the adult said. This air is too harsh. We will resettle on Aqualin Colony. The middle child stepped forward holding a small, translucent object. Inside it, bubbles were arranged in swirling lines. We made this so you will remember us, they said. Tyler held it to the light. The trapped air traced patterns in formal Triskelion script. What does it say, he asked. It says Handfather, the eldest answered, because you helped shape our time here with kindness. Tyler's throat tightened. I'll keep it on my shelf, he said. I won't forget you. Not ever. After they left, he placed the sculpture beside the Lux stone. The word Handfather settled on him like a cloak, strange, humbling, and right. Days later, Krozak returned to pick up his brand-new multicultural learning device. Tyler had built it from spare casings and modular processors, loaded with access ports for the multi-species curriculum. The young Draxian began downloading programs on everything from Meridian architecture to Lurillian song rituals. His scales shimmered like shifting embers. I will study it all, he said. The more I know, the better mediator I can be between my people and others. Just don't ditch your Draxian lessons, Tyler said with a grin. Your own stories matter too. As the weeks rolled by, something new took shape around the fix-it shop. Younglings of every shape and texture started staying longer than their repairs required. They watched Tyler and Zick work, traded stories, argued cheerfully about whose food smelled strangest, and explained their holidays to one another. One afternoon, Tyler looked up and realized the shop was full of kids, and none of them were in line. They were just there, Zick patiently showing a Lydian how to solder, Krozak explaining clan crest symbols to a cluster of curious Meridians, a toned kid demonstrating how their species use velocity puzzles to learn math. "You've created a nest," said a voice behind him. Tyler turned to see a tall Nephilian adult, plates gleaming, antennae arched in interest. "Sorry," Tyler said. "Didn't mean to crank the crowd noise." "I can." The adult lifted a delicate hand. "Not that kind of nest. In our culture, we designate learning chambers where younglings cluster to absorb knowledge from many sources. Your repair shop has become such a place, though I doubt you planned it." "Definitely didn't," Tyler said bemusedly. "It just happened." "I am Vin, Zick's primary guardian," the adult introduced. "Since joining you, Zick's academic performance has risen measurable degrees, and its social integration has improved. You have become an educator to many across species." Before Tyler could respond, the door chimed again. This time, it wasn't just any group. It was a delegation, the Meridian from the Council, the Draxian parent, a Vectrian representative, a Lurilian, and others. "Human Tyler," the Meridian said. "We come with a proposal." Tyler straightened, suddenly aware of the grease on his hands. "All right," he said carefully. "Let's hear it. We have observed," the Meridian began, "that your repair shop has become an informal multi-species learning hub. Younglings gather here not merely to collect repaired items, but to share knowledge and culture. Our official educational systems have failed to create this level of authentic exchange," the Vectrian added. "We would be foolish not to support what has grown naturally here." The Draxian parent stepped forward. "We therefore propose to formalize this place as the new Harmony Cultural Preservation and Education Center." Tyler blinked. "As in, turn my shop into a school." "Not a school," Vin corrected. "A center, where artifacts central to our cultures are preserved and repaired, and where younglings learn together rather than apart." The Meridian held out a data tablet. "Our proposal includes funding for expanded space, tools, materials, and an ongoing stipend for you. Others can handle commercial ship repairs. You would focus on educational devices, cultural items, and the guidance you already provide." Tyler stared at the tablet. The plan was detailed: floor layouts, budget allocations, staff support. They'd been working on this for a while. "I'm just a mechanic," he said, a little overwhelmed. "I don't have training as a teacher or ambassador or anything fancy." "You teach every time you explain a gear to a child," Vince said. "You mediate every time you bridge a cultural gap with respect. Titles are irrelevant. Outcomes are not." From behind them, a small chorus of voices rose. "Zick, Krozak, the Andorian navigator in training." Several others. "Say yes, Tyler." Krozak called. "We already voted." "You what?" Tyler asked, half laughing. "The younglings took a poll," Zick explained solemnly. 97% approval. The rest marked undecided, but none opposed. Tyler looked around at the children, feathered, scaled, furred, carapaced. Different in almost every way, except for the way they all stared at him like he was the center of some shared gravity. "I'll do it," he said finally. "On one condition." "State it," the Meridian replied. "No matter how big this center gets," Tyler said, "no kid gets turned away. I don't care if their parents have credits or not, or if they're from Psi Member World or some frontier rock. If they walk in here with something loved and broken, item or heart, they're welcome." The council members exchanged looks. Then the Meridian extended a crystalline limb. "Agreed," it said. "The center will be inclusive, as your shop has been." The next weeks were a blur. Walls were knocked down. Adjacent units were rented and renovated. Contractors, human and alien, worked side by side under the hum of power tools and the smell of sealant. New workstations appeared, one optimized for delicate crystal instruments, another for soft organic materials, a station shielded for volatile educational tech that liked to explode when miswired. There was a display hall where cultural objects could be exhibited with placards written in 3 or more languages. Tyler's old Tyler's Fix-It shop sign was carefully moved to a prominent wall inside, a reminder of where it all started. Zik officially became his assistant. Krozak used the center's meeting room to organize story circles, where kids swapped myths and legends. The Andorian youngster taught a navigation club using both Andorian star charts and human techniques, arguing cheerfully over the best routes. 6 months after the official opening, Tyler's comm panel flashed with an incoming call from Earth. Megan's face appeared, eyes wide as she took in the bustling backdrop. "Whoa," she said. "When you said you were keeping busy, I pictured a couple more ships, not a daycare for the entire galaxy." Tyler laughed. "We've upgraded from broken hoverboards." "Is that a bug kid over there?" she whispered, pointing at Zik in the background. "Nephilian," Tyler corrected. "Don't call them bugs. They're mostly brain and etiquette." He explained the center, how it worked, who came, what they fixed, how the community fund had expanded to support field trips and translation tools, how kids who once barely spoke outside their home circles now helped each other solder broken circuits and decode old recordings. "Tyler Grant," Megan said when he finished, eyes shining. "Interstellar hand father. Dad'll be well, you know." "Yeah," Tyler said softly. "I think he'd tell me my magnifier's crooked and then steal my tools." After the call, Tyler walked the floor of the center, taking it all in. In one corner, Krozak led a group discussion on origin myth from different worlds, their scales pulsing gently as they emphasized key points. Nearby, a circle of kids from 3 species were repairing a Lydian string instrument, each using talents their bodies offered: fine Nephilian fingerwork, strong Draxian grip, a Lurilian's precise breath to test airflow. By the entrance, a tiny drawn child hesitated, clutching a dented atmospheric regulator unit. Tyler approached with his now familiar shopfront smile. "Hey there," he said. "Welcome to the Cultural Center. I'm Tyler. What do you have there?" "You are the one they call Hand Father?" the child asked in a whisper. "The one who fixes and teaches." "So they tell me," Tyler said. "And you are?" "Malix," the child replied. "My practice regulator for humidity control is broken. My parent says we should request a new one from Homeworld, but that will take many cycles. Without it, I cannot train to breathe properly in mixed environments." Tyler took the device, turning it over, already plotting possible fixes. "I think we can nurse this along," he said. "Feel like learning how it works while we repair it?" "You would teach me?" Malix asked, eyes wide. "That's just how we do things here," Tyler said, guiding them to an open workstation. "We fix it together, and you walk out knowing more than when you came in." As they opened the regulator casing, the background noise of the center washed over them. Meridians humming as they tuned crystals, Lurilians trading melodies with humans, Zik explaining the cultural meaning of a Nephilian pattern to a fascinated Kalin youngster. At some point, Malix glanced up. "Hand father?" the child asked. "The others say there is a story of how you began fixing our things. How our center started. Will you tell it?" Across the room, ears, antennae, sensory fronds, and eye clusters turned toward them. Tools paused. Conversations dipped. Tyler realized the kids were listening. Not because he'd called for attention, but because the origin story of this place belonged to them as much as to him. "It started with a broken toy," he said, "back before this was a center. Before anyone thought to call me anything but the human mechanic downstairs." He told them about the first drawn child, the robot everyone else had given up on, the Andorian star map, the Triskelion luckstone, the Draxian heirloom doll, the hive model made from a lost home. How a simple choice, no charge for kids, had quietly rewired the whole community. He told them about the word hand father, born from Triskelion language and adopted by half the station's younglings. How he'd resisted it at first, feeling unworthy, until he realized fatherhood here wasn't about blood. It was about hands. Hands that repaired. Hands that guided. Hands that held space for learning without judgment. And that, he finished looking around at the faces gathered, scaled, feathered, smooth, ridged, furred, chitinous, is how a human who just wanted to fix things ended up with the biggest, weirdest, most wonderful family in the sector. Silence hung for half a heartbeat, then dissolved into chatter. Kids went back to projects, but now with a fresh light in their eyes. They didn't just belong to their own species anymore. They belonged to this shared story. As Malix carefully replaced a clean filter under Tyler's direction, the regulator hummed back to life, tiny indicator lights flickering green. "It works!" Malix exclaimed. "I could train again." "Remember what we did," Tyler said. "Next time it clogs, you'll know exactly where to look." "Hand, Father," Malix said again, more confidently this time. "Will you tell that story again someday? For new younglings." "Every time someone asks," Tyler said. "Stories are just another kind of repair. They fix how we see each other." Around them, the center thrummed, not just with machines and tools, but with trust, curiosity, and something very close to love. And that was the end of this tale, at least for now. If you listen all the way through, drop your thoughts in the comments. What did you like? What would you change? Who was your favorite alien kid? Your feedback helps us tune future stories just for you. Don't forget to tap like, hit subscribe, and stick around. I'll pop another story up on the screen that I think you'll really enjoy next. Rocket Purple Heart.